Hi, I'm Jess, and welcome to Spooky Movie Club. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Spooky Movie Club. We are back for week one of Sci-Fi Horror Month. We're going to discuss Event Horizon, the 1997 film. If you want to skip ahead to next week's spooky movie or the discussion, I'm going to leave timestamps below. But now we're going to read the back of the box, or everything that's on this box. Okay. Event Horizon, this is the collector's edition that they just recently released. Scream Factory. Let's see, does this have the same thing on the back here? It does, yeah. Okay, so that's, there you go, the two covers there. Okay, Infinite Space, Infinite Terror. I think that's, you should take note of that because we'll get back to that little slogan. Okay, its name, Event Horizon. The high-tech pioneering research spacecraft mysteriously vanished without a trace in its maiden voyage 7 years ago. But a weak, persistent signal from the long-missing craft prompts a rescue team headed by the intrepid Captain Miller to wing its way through the galaxy on a bold rescue mission. Accompanying Miller is his elite crew and the lost ship's designer, Sam Neill, Dr. Weir. What they uncover is unimaginable interstellar horror. So very basic. They don't really give anything away, just the basic premise. I mentioned before how this kind of reminded me of the Abyss. Watching it was nothing like the Abyss. Nothing like it. Let's see, what does this quote say? It doesn't just borrow from fine antecedents. It takes their future shock value to new heights, using genuinely original FX and creepy camera work to great effect. Empire Magazine, original FX. Oh, they were original. All right, let's discuss it. Let's get into my three things. So the first thing I want to discuss is, obviously this was supposed to be a very serious, scary movie, but there were parts that were, I believe, unintentionally funny. They were not meant to be as funny as they were. One of the things that comes up in my brain is the weird captain's chairs. I don't know why, but when they chose to have a captain's chair that was attached to the ceiling of the ship and just kind of swung, and when they were flying to the Event Horizon, it was shaking and just I'm like, what is this goofy captain's chair? What is the purpose? Why does it need to be hanging from the ceiling? It was so stupid. And even the captain's chair that was in the Event Horizon at the end when Dr. Weir is sitting in it, and this was supposed to be scary too, but just the way he didn't have any eyes and he looked so silly. And that captain's chair was kind of not swing, but just a weird choice of production design and props. Even that end scene, the sound effects were all weird. I could have sworn I heard some sort of weird stock, cartoony sound effect in there when he was being pushed up against the wall. Supposed to be a serious moment, was laughing. But the big one for me was when Baby Bear, I don't remember his real character name, but he is in the chamber and he's ready to jump off into space and be just exploded from the inside from the pressure. It's very serious, and you're this is a real moment, and you're this is I can feel the tension here. But when they're trying to rescue him, Lawrence Fishburne is I'm coming, Baby Bear. And it's so funny. It's not supposed to be funny. And even, this is a victim of its time, the special effects, computer, whatever. Everything just kind of looked fake when they were using the computer. It was 1997, so I have to give it some slack. But, we've seen 2001: A Space Odyssey. We know that things can look realistic. So let's put in a little bit of effort here. Anyway, that also made it look kind of funny when his veins were popping out and they looked so bad. And then when Lawrence Fishburne finally, the door opens and he grabs him and he's convulsing. It's hilarious. And it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be very serious. So I don't know how this happened. I don't know if this happened in editing and just weird editing choices. I know that this movie was plagued. It has a long history and stories told of this, the edit being disaster and cutting things down to make it an R rating. So I know that, it's plagued with terrible rumors. So I'm assuming that's what happened. And that's why these parts that were supposed to be serious ended up being just so stupid. I don't know if anybody else agrees with that, if people still watch this and think it's very scary. I know that a lot of people I talked to are like, this was the scariest movie I've seen. I don't know if they've recently revisited it, but some moments really take you out of the movie because it's so bad, it's laughable. So the second thing I want to talk about is basically the whole kind of premise of this movie is like, where did the black hole take them? And they're trying to figure out the entire movie. And let's think back when I was reading the box and it says infinite space, infinite terror. Infinite space. Okay, space is infinite. There's no end to space. And yet the choice was to the black hole to take you to a different dimension that is not of this plane. Is it a different universe? Like, it's never really explained. But like, why was a hell dimension, demon dimension? Why was that the place? You could choose anywhere in space. You could choose a random alien planet. Maybe they were trying to make it different, but to me, it just kind of went off the rails at that point. It stopped being like a sci-fi movie and started being, I don't know, something else entirely. Like, it kind of went Lovecraftian at that moment. And I just wanted more sci-fi. Like, why couldn't we just go to another planet? And there was like invisible microorganisms or something that you couldn't see that could take over the ship. Like, I would have loved less of the demon thing. I mean, you could still do gore and visions of like a hell, whatever. Like, things could take over your body. But I didn't like how we got there, how it was like a demon dimension. I love a good demon story. Love me some demons, ghosts, haunted houses, and ships. But this, where they took this, I was just, I felt like it could have been executed better. Again, this could all be because it was plagued by all these crazy things that happened with the movie. Like, maybe if we would have been shown more of what the demon dimension was and how it took over the ship and what if there were creatures or whatever. I feel like if this could be expanded on a bit more, maybe I would have been fine with the demon dimension. But with an hour and a half running time, there was no time to explain really what was happening with this, where they went. You still have no idea. It is never explained. This movie could have really benefited from like an extra 20 minutes and half hour to really flush out the stuff that I was really interested in, which is like, why did this, like, what happened with the ship? Where is the demon dimension? I had so many questions that were just left unanswered because it was an hour and a half. And I know we're never getting a 2-hour cut of this movie. The original films were destroyed. But I had a problem with the demon dimension. Some people will probably disagree. But I would just prefer it stick on the sci-fi train. It kind of went off the rails a tiny bit with the dimension they chose to go to. The third and final thing I want to talk about is Dr. Weir's character. It's kind of confusing. So like right in the beginning, he's seeing flashes of his wife. Before they even get on the event horizon, he's getting these weird visions. And you don't know like if he's just, post-traumatic stress or something. Like, she has really these big demon eyes. You don't really know why he's getting them, but then the people go on the ship and they start seeing visions of like their sons or the person that they, had to leave behind on a mission because of the demons, whatever, that took over the ship. Now the ship's a living being. But Dr. Weir was getting those before we got on the event horizon. So what happened to Dr. Weir? Are we supposed to believe that he was on the ship on its maiden voyage and originally went to the other dimension with the crew and then somehow got back to Earth and then left Earth to go back, because at one point he says, "Oh, I'm home now. This is my home." Again, we needed another half hour to really explain Dr. Weir's whole situation. I feel like there's a lot more there. A lot more we need to, dig deeper about, because I'm like, how does that, unless he was on the ship and then went to the dimension and then somehow did the gravity thing and he went through the black hole to get back onto Earth somehow and then went back, or when he was making his machine, he accidentally went in the demon dimension before the maiden voyage. Just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, does anybody else maybe if I did research about maybe what Dr. Weir's backstory was, this could all be answered. So if anybody else did their research and would like to let me know in the comments about what Dr. Weir's situation is, that would be lovely. But yeah, I just didn't understand his whole backstory, and I would have liked to know more of that. So my final thoughts on Event Horizon is, I do have to say, when I announced Event Horizon last week, I mentioned that we just mostly bought it because we wanted to watch the Red Letter Media review. So after we watched Event Horizon, we then watched the review. I feel like I'm always hyping Red Letter Media and like subscribe to their channel more than I am to, I don't think I've ever said that about my channel. I'm basically Red Letter Media's hype girl. It's totally fine. Go subscribe to their channel. I think they are amazing. They're hilarious. Anyway, we watched their review after we watched Event Horizon, and I do have to agree with Jay when he said that this movie is a great choice for a remake, because I think it's a good premise but was executed poorly. And I think now with how things have changed with, ratings and everything like that, you could show a lot more gore, show a lot more of the flashes, subliminal messages from the demon dimension. You could have it a 2.5 hour running time and it be totally fine and people would go see it. And I know a lot of people will probably like, don't touch Event Horizon. There's a lot of people who love this movie, but I think that this would make at least the basis, the storyline of a good remake, and I would see it. I didn't love this movie. I thought it was just okay. I don't think I'll watch it again, but I do think that this is a movie that would benefit from a remake. So week 1 of Sci-Fi Horror is gone. Let me know what you thought about Event Horizon below. Do you agree about the remake or not? Would love to know. But we are now on to week 2. And this movie I have seen, not in a very long time. Very, very long time. So it's basically going to be like it's not going to be my first time watch, but it's going to be like I'm watching it for the first time because I don't really remember anything about it, what happens, how they get to this place. But this is a classic. It is probably in a lot of people's top 10 horror movies, I would say. It is a classic. So next week's spooky movie is Alien. Now we have the Blu-ray collector's edition anthology with all of them in there. We're only watching the first one, but I'm excited to revisit this movie. One of my favorite parts of going to Disney World and going to the Great Movie Ride, R.I.P., Great Movie Ride, was the scene when you would go in the car and Alien would come down and spook you, give you a jump scare. I would always love that part of the ride. So I'm very excited to watch this movie again. All right, that wraps it up for this week's Spooky Movie Club. I hope you enjoyed discussing Event Horizon. I hope you're excited for next week's spooky movie, or this week's spooky movie, Alien. We're going to do the viewing party on Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Discord. And then we're going to do our live discussion over on Twitch on Saturday, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I hope you can join us. I'm going to leave links below if you can, but if not, no worries, because I'll be back here on Sunday with the review. Bye.